guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Thursday Afternoon Coding. Here again with my son Caleb.
Hello.
Because we're continuing with our work on Roblox Studio. So if you didn't catch or not sure where we are this week, a few weeks ago we did an intro to Roblox Studio, and last week we created a leaderboard to start out for an adventure game. So this week we're going to work on creating some harvestable items within our adventure game so that we can walk around, collect those, and exchange those for gold so that we can either level up or add specific items to our inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and bring us up straight up into Roblox Studio. So this is where we left off last week. You can go check those out on our YouTube channel, or you can check out our Facebook page, has this video from last week. But here's our adventure game. We opened up in the village template that Roblox already provided, Roblox Studio. So go ahead and click play, Caleb, to show what we did last week. Created a quick script in order to show a leaderboard up here that shows our cash apples, which we're going to create this week to collect and level. All right.
Okay.
So stop on this. One of the things you have to make sure when you're scripting in Roblox Studio is always make sure that you stop from play mode when you're editing things. They've gotten better about things that can save while you're actually playing the game, but you still don't want to be actually editing things while you're playing or while it's in play mode, because it just doesn't save properly. So.
Okay, so we need to make something you can harvest. Personally, I'm going to go with an apple. So I'm just going to make put a part down in here. And I want to make it kind of smaller. There we go. Make it a cube. And I'm going to change the material of it with clicking this.
Could make it a sphere.
Oh, yeah, that probably would work better. That would probably work better, yeah.
So the reason why we're making it instead of grabbing something from the toolbox is when you grab items from the toolbox, there's a chance that whoever created those items from the toolbox added some code in the back end. We just want to make sure that we're not conflicting with anything that's going on there.
Okay, I'm going to change the material. I'm going to put it to neon. And I'm going to change the color of it to like a dark red, just like that. And then I'm going to have another part, maybe a cylinder. And then I'm going to put the material to like wood or something for like the stem of it. So change it to wood. And then change the color of it to like a brown.
We'll have a different material, even though it was the same color there.
Mm-hmm.
Look much different than off the neon.
And I'm going to rotate it so that it's facing straight up. Okay,
maybe off to the side a little bit, that's fine. Or you can go to model. So if something's not rotating exactly, or that it's collisions are on, just leave that at 1. Double check the collision. The one thing we note on the first video, collisions are on. It won't let you rotate around. He would have been bumping into that.
I'm going to turn these off.
Yeah, go ahead and turn it off. That sphere that he created. And so by turning collisions off for this particular item, it lets you change everything. And
I think that's the smallest it can go. Might be able to change it down in here, the size.
Size 1 by 1 by 1.
That the height. That could be the height. Nope, that's what we want. Okay, that's better. And I'm just gonna put this under here.
He's moving around quickly just to make sure that this apple kind of looks like.
Actually, I'm gonna change the move to 0. That way we can just move it wherever we want, and it won't be on a grid or anything. And then now that we have these two parts,
kind of looks like one of the old little bomb things that are on Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. So
okay.
Well, yeah. So now that we have these two here, we're gonna drag them together so that they're both selected. You can see they're both selected here. And we're gonna go into Home, and we're gonna click Group. So now you'll see this is the model. It's just named Model. So we can name that to something else, like Apple. I'll probably just
change the name down to properties. But the reason why we group it is so from now on, whenever we move this around or do anything, the entire thing moves as one unit instead of separate sphere and cylinder.
Yeah. We also need to anchor it too. That way it won't fall down. So now we want to rename the names in here, the parts in here. So this is the main part of it. So we're just going to name this the core of the apple. And then name this this one here the stem, just so we can identify them later because we'll need that.
And again, like we talked about with other things, renaming items is super important. I've seen so many Roblox items from the toolbox were just weren't naming things. The naming isn't for the computer. The computer doesn't care. The naming is for us and for other developers, so that when we look at this later on, we actually can tell quicker, more quickly what's going on with this. So you created the item. We created a sphere, cylinder, put them together, grouped them together, anchored it. Now what do we do?
So now we need to add a click detector into the apple group here.
So you get that little plus just to the right of the name over in the Explorer.
Yep. And then you'll search up click detector. It'll pop up, and you just left click on that, and it should automatically just pop into here. So now that we have that, we need to add a script. So
what's the click detector do?
So basically, what a click detector will do, so if you're looking at it and you have your mouse on it, you can click on it and it'll like activate something.
It'll send basically create an event that you're listening for in the script, right?
Yeah.
So if you click on the click detector, go ahead and click it there. Look down in the right. So these are the properties for the click detector, and the main thing that you can look at here is the max activation distance. So this is how far you can be in order to be able to actually see this item and click on it. So you probably want it so that they have to come up close to the item.
Yeah, probably
maybe 16.
Yeah, that'll probably
half
work.
of what there.
Okay. So now we want to rename the script so that we know what it is. So I'm just going to name it when clicked, so that way we know what it is. And then we can actually go into the script by either double tapping it or going into here. So it says print hello world. We don't really want that, so we're just going to delete all that. And so first thing we're going to need to do is make a variable for the click detector, the core, and the stem. So we're going to do local core is equal to script dot parent dot core. There we go. So that'll access this. So now we have a variable for this. That way the script can use it for whatever it needs to do.
So while he's creating this for the stem
Yeah.
and the click detector, he's going to go ahead and do that. These are references basically to those items in our folder. One of the difficult things with programming with Roblox is making sure we're referencing the correct item and making sure that like we're connecting all of this to these event or this click detector and the other events that we can have on our code. So he's creating variables called core, stem, and click detector, and he's mapping them to particular items at the top or at that are over here.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we have all those variables done, we need to put a function that'll activate once the click detector is clicked. So we can do that by doing click detector dot mouse click. Okay, and then colon connect, and then in the parentheses function, another set of parentheses, and in here part actually it'd be player that clicked. Okay, then we have that function.
So some people create the function by itself and then connect down at the bottom. You've connected and created the function in the same line of code.
Yeah.
You may see this in different places. You're really doing the same thing. We're creating a function that does something, and then we have to connect that click detector mouse click event to that function that we created that's actually doing the stuff. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so now that we've got that, we want to find that player in the player tab here, and then we want to add their apples up one. So we can do this by doing, well, actually, we need to put a variable. Yeah, we need to have a variable for the players thing in the game. So we need to do game.players. Actually, local.
Oh,
Oh,
you got it.
okay. So local
Creating a reference to the get player
Yeah.
service.
local players is equal to game get service, and then in quotations players. Now that we have that in this script, in this function here, we can do players. Oh wait, the player that clicked already have it. So actually, we don't actually need this function here. Yeah, we don't need that. So what we need to do is we need to find that player's leader stats folder. So we need to do local leader stats.
Last week we created a leader stats folder underneath of each player when they joined the game. And this year, or right here, we're getting a reference to that folder.
So we need to do local leader stats is equal to player that clicked, find first child, then parentheses and quotation marks, leader stats, or whatever you name that folder. So now that we've got the leader stats, we need to get the apples values. So we do local apples.
So this is their current value.
Yeah, local apples is equal to leader stats. Find first child. Apples. Well, if I spell it correctly.
Let's double check that we're doing everything the same. So make sure it says apples. This is what we're trying to match up here. This name. And that's what he's matched up here. Find first child. In coding, there's a child-parent relationship whenever something is under something else. So for instance, over in the Explorer, all of these, the click detector, the one-click script, the core, and the stem are all children of this apple. An apple is the parent of these items. If we have multiple things, like up here, we have multiple, the parent of this part is beams. The parent of beams is cottage. And that's how we define relationships between items that are over in the Explorer. So that's why this find first child, we're going to find the first child of that leader stats folder or that player that is called whatever we put in the quotation marks.
Yeah, okay. So next, we need to make the apples value go up by 1. So we need to do apples dot value. So it's going to get that value that's already in the leader stats. And we're going to do is equal to apples dot value plus 1.
And why do we do dot value instead of just apples?
Because the apples is not a number, so we need to get the value of apples. So the because apples is just what it is. We need to get the number value that's inside of it,
Yep.
And we need to increase it by 1. So now, if we play it and we find our apple, I can find the apple. I don't know exactly. Okay, there it is. So if we go over to the apple real quick.
Sprint.
Well, we don't have a sprint in here. So if we go over to the apple, you should see your mouse will change to this when you're over it. And if you click it, you should see up here, the apples has changed by 1 every time you click it. So you click this as much as you want, and it would change the apples value.
So one way we would stop it in the game is we would just make that apple disappear.
Yeah.
After you clicked it and it increased, right? We would make it disappear and then maybe come back up like 20 seconds later or 30 seconds later.
Yeah.
Right?
So we can do that. So what we can do is we can do stem. Yeah. Well, actually, okay. So what we need to do is we need to add an if statement. So we need to do if stem dot transparency is equal to 0. So if it's visible, then well, actually we need 2 equals. That's how we know it's comparing. Because if it's just 1 equal, it means you're changing something. But if it's 2, it means you're comparing something.
Yeah.
So if its transparency is set to 0, that means it's visible. You can see it. We're going to put this into here. So you can do Control X. And then you can Control V it into there. And it'll show up. And then what we can do is we can do stem dot transparency is equal to 100. So you won't be able to see it. But we also need to do that for the core too. So we have to do core dot transparency is equal to 100 as well. And then after that, we can wait like 5 seconds. Just put some number in here for the sake of testing. I'm just going to put 5. And then I'm just going to do, and then you have to set these back to 0. So you're going to do stem dot transparency is equal to 0. And then core dot transparency is equal to 0. So now if we test it, if we click play and we go over to the Apple.
We'll have to click play here.
Yeah, we might try to do play here just so we get over by the Apple. We don't have to walk all the way to it. But anyway, once we get over to the Apple and you click it, it should disappear. But sometimes you'll be able to see the click detector still there. But even if it's disappeared, you can't click it, even though you can see, that it's there. You can't click it. So now it's just going to disappear for a set amount of time. You can set it to whatever you want. But for right now, let's just stay with 5. And then it'll reappear. So, yeah.
Nice. So we're adding values to the apples that we've collected. Good.
So now that we've got that, we're gonna add a plate. So we're gonna do like a block.
So we're gonna create a place to exchange that for gold.
Yeah.
So maybe we want them to collect various types of apples, or maybe whatever else that we want them to collect in their adventure game. But then they have to come and exchange it for what we want.
So I'm going to set its material to neon, and I'm going to put its color to yellow.
You like that neon, like something glowing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the neon. And then I'm going to change this name of the part to be, I'm going to call it like exchange platform or something like that. So there we go. And then in the exchange platform, we're going to put a script. So I'll click on the plus, then it should already pop up with a script there. And then in the script, we're going to say, well, actually, I want to rename it. So we're going to say, let's name this script exchange apples for cash. That's what I'm going to name the script, just so we know what it is. What it is doing. So we're going to get rid of the print hello world.
It seems pretty straightforward. Exchange apples for cash, right?
Yeah.
That's a good name. Yeah. So we come back to this later, we know exactly what this script's going to do.
So we're going to put a variable for the platform. So we're going to do local platform form is equal to script dot parent. So it'll take this. So that's this variable is this block here. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to do platform dot touched. We're going to do connect function. And we're just going to say part that touched.
Again, we're connecting the function with the touched event of the platform.
So in the platform, we're just going to do a quick print, and then we're going to put in parentheses here, not in parentheses, in quotations. Like we're going to say something like,
Go ahead and put yeet. That's what you want.
no, I'm not going to put. I was going to say yay. So I'm going to say part touched platform.
So this is a good way to test that we are actually in the function and everything's connected properly before we add a lot more code. There's how many times have we had to debug something and it wasn't connected properly or we weren't like. So this is a good way to test that. That's what he's doing here right now. So go back to the adventure game. We should see something. And he's going to do play here so that he actually shows up right in front of the platform.
Yeah.
And then down at the bottom of your Roblox Studio.
Okay, so it won't. Okay, so
go to view. I don't think you're.
Yeah, you have to go into view and you have to find this output bar, and you have to click on that. So now you should see down here. It should say part touch platform, and yeah. So every time you do it, it'll keep saying that.
So this has come up 56 times already, according to this.
Yes.
Because it's like spamming it every time that you're touching it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you move away, it's still continuing to connect. Okay.
So now we need to find if it's a person touching it, because like something else could be touching it. So.
Like what, zombies?
Yeah. So what we need to do is or it could be like if something fell down, like a car or something.
Part blew up or fell off or something.
Okay. So what we need to do is we need to delete that print thing, and then we need to do part, and we'll make a local variable called local part parent is equal to part that touched parent. So to get the parent of that part that touched it, so like in the player, if the player's like right foot touched it, it'll get the player's like model. So
this is so that it doesn't get just the right foot, because like none of the stuff that we're worried about is on the player's right foot.
Yeah.
We want the player.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we're gonna do after that is we're gonna do if part parent find first child, and then humanoid. If you go, so if you're in Roblox Studio and you're playing as the player, you'll have this thing in you that's called humanoid. So it'll find that. And if it finds that, it'll say something. It'll, print something. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click print, found player.
So what's the humanoid versus the player?
Okay, so it's kind of easier to explain if we're actually playing it. So if we go into the workspace, there will be like a player model. So with your name on it, TechWise Ryan, and then you can see this humanoid here, right? And then you go and you click on the platform. It'll try to find that humanoid in you. So if it finds that humanoid, then it'll do something.
It'll do whatever we want.
Yeah.
We put an if statement on it, right?
Yeah. So now we're gonna find that player in the player, the game, the player service. We're gonna do, so we need to make a variable of the player service. So we do local players is equal to game get service players. And so once we get that service of the players, we're gonna say, we're gonna do local. We're gonna do we're gonna do player. We're gonna make a local variable. Local player is equal to players find first child part parent. So if it in the players, the part parent's name should be your your character's name. So it'll go into the players, and if it finds that in there, it's going to do something. So we're going to do if player, then. So if there's a value of that player.
So we do a check here because there's a chance that the player isn't loaded or some other reason, and we want to make sure that we actually have a player to modify this stuff.
So we're doing this because, so if you have like an NPC that was chasing you or something, so if we found, if we go into home, you don't have to add this, but if you find, like if you put in a zombie or something, and now it's chasing you, and it went over that, it would have a humanoid too, but it would break it, but it wouldn't have a thing in the player, so that way it won't break it. So that's kind of confusing. So the zombie, it has a
zombie doesn't have a player property in the player's
service.
It
does not have anything in the player's service. So if it doesn't have anything in the player's service, it just won't do anything. So now, if the zombie was chasing you and it walked over the platform, oh, it's chasing that guy. Well, if he walks over the platform, it won't break it.
He was much more appealing than me,
apparently. Okay, so if it's an actual player, not just like an NPC or something, I'm gonna actually delete that zombie because we don't need it. Okay, yeah. So once we find that player, we need to get its leader stats values. So we need to do local leader stats. Leader stats is equal to
player.
Yeah, player.
Just player.
Yeah, just player. Player find first child. Leader stats. So it's going to get that leader stats folder. And then we need to also get the values of how many apples they have and their cash as well. So that way we can exchange the apples for cash. So we're going to do local cash is equal to leader stats. Find first child. Cash.
Was it gold or cash?
I think we named it cash. But like if you named it something else, just have it matched up with that one.
Good call.
So we can actually copy this because we also need to get the apples too. So we're just gonna Control-C that and Control-V, and then we'll change this for apples, and also change this as well to be apples.
So now we have to think about what we want to happen next. So whenever we're coding something, we go to the easiest thing to do next. What we're trying to do is take whatever apples that we have and exchange those for some set amount of cash, increase our cash value, right?
Yeah.
All right. So first things first, we should probably check if they have any apples at all.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're not going to do anything.
So what we need to do is we need to do if apples dot value, because apples is not a number, the value is a number. So we need to do if apples dot value is greater than, actually that's not greater, that's less than. If it's greater than 0, then what we need to do is we need to do cash dot value is equal to cash dot value plus apples dot value times 100 or whatever number you want. So if you want the apples to be worth 100 cash or something, or if you want it to be like 1,000,000 cash, you could set that in there instead of 100. But I'm just going to stay with 100. So after we have that, we need to set the apples value to 0. Otherwise, it's like they can just keep doing it and get like a bunch of cash. So they have to do apples dot value.
Worked hard for those apples.
Yeah. Well, you got to exchange them.
That's right.
Is equal to 0. So now if we play, we can collect apples. So we can collect our apples. So if we have nothing here, nothing will break. Okay. it won't do anything. It can't exchange it for apples because you have none. So if you get an apple, your cash will go up. Oh, looks like something happened. I might have accidentally typed something wrong. Cash dot value is equal to cash dot value plus apples dot value.
All right, make sure we're in the if player. We'll check that first with the so if player.
Oh yeah, we might want to put a print in here. So we do print something like player. Well, I guess that'll save. Yeah, it'll save. But if you're on team create and you're working with teams, that would not save.
So what we're trying to do is make sure we're at the right point that we want to be at in the code.
So if there's a player, looks like it's not printing anything. Okay. So now that we know it's not printing this, that means it doesn't find that in the player. So let's just probably print the player value just so we know what it is.
You can do that. We can actually print like different objects, and it'll print out appropriately for us.
Oh, it might be down here.
You can make the output larger if you want to.
Oh, that's just the cloud stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
that always happens.
They've got that on there.
Okay, so it says it's nil.
Can't find the player. All right.
Okay. So now we need to find
players. It's not find first child on that though, is it? In the players service.
Oh, okay. I know what we need to do. Okay, I know what we need to do. So the part.parent, it's not the name of it. It's just the part. It's just the players thing itself. So we need to do part.parent dot name. So it gets their name value.
Okay, so we're looking for the name.
Yes.
In the okay.
So now it should work. It should work now.
That's why I bring you on here. You know all this stuff with.
Okay, so now I can get the players. So we can remove those prints. We don't need them anymore.
So before it was just looking for an object that in this list of players in the player service.
Yeah.
And it wasn't related to any of the names because that's what's stored in there is the usernames. And so that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, okay. So now if we play, we should be able to collect the apple. So let's say we get an apple and we put it on there. Now our cash should go up based on how many apples. So if we had like 2 apples, so I'll wait for this to appear again. Yeah, so if we had 2 apples, we should get $200. So now we'll have 300. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Nice. So if you were doing this in your own game, obviously you could create this whole little platform here and have some kind of fancy exchange platform that has a sign for the player. But
yeah,
this is really what we want to do to get started with this. We're collecting items, we're starting to exchange those items, and there you go. All right. Well, hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, or you're watching this later and you have a question, post a comment. We'd be happy to answer those as we're moving along here. Next week, what are we going to work on next week?
We're going to be working on an inventory. So like you can't have too many apples. Like you can only have like a set amount of apples, and you can like get a better backpack.
Or basket to collect your apples. Okay. Yeah. So that's the way most of those adventure games work. Is that we have a limit. We go out and collect these items. We come back and exchange it. And we get a bigger limit so that we can collect more items and exchange faster and hopefully get to those endpoints of the game. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to click below if you're on YouTube to like and get notified whenever we go live. We'll be doing this again next week and continue on Roblox Studio for a while. I've had fun having Caleb join in here and being able to help me out. And he's definitely got a lot more experience with programming in Roblox Studio than I do. So glad to have him here on this. All right. That's it.
Yeah,
all right.
That's it.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining, and we will see you next week. Bye.